This is probably the most disrespectful thing you could ever do to an A5 Wagyu. We are turning it into Spam. And if that wasn't disrespectful enough, then we're gonna turn it into jerky. Now, before you start yelling at your screen, let me explain. We're not just making A5 Wagyu Spam. We are running a full-on beefy Spam experiment. 4 different cuts, head to head. Top round, brisket, tri-tip, and of course, the crown jewel, A5 Wagyu. We'll make each of them into their own Spam loaf, slice them up, season them up, and then turn them into jerky. Then, at the end, we'll put them all to the test, side by side, and see which one reigns supreme. And see if it was worth it to sacrifice this beautiful, expensive piece of A5 Wagyu to the Spam gods. We'll rank them, crown a winner, and see if any of them deserve a spot in the Jerky.com Hall of Fame, where only the boldest, most legendary jerky creations belong. So this is gonna be kind of like food experiment with a little bit of blasphemy and maybe somewhere in there a decent idea. But you're gonna wanna stick around because I'm gonna give some of this away, but more on that later. All right, before we start grinding up expensive meat and making the internet mad, let me give credit where credit's due. We're gonna be following Joshua Weissman's Make Spam at Home video. This is what we're gonna use as the base for this. So shout out to Joshua Weissman, not that he needs it from us, but we're using his blueprint as the launch pad for all of this stuff. But like we usually do here in Jerky.com fashion, we're gonna twist his version, beef it up a little bit, and make it into jerky. So again, shout out to Joshua Weissman on this. I'm gonna link his video down below in the description. But now we're about to make some beefy Spam that even he might give us a little side eye about. Okay, everything here is prepped and ready to go. We pre-measured everything and then pre-chilled it. This stuff's been sitting in the freezer about an hour and a half, even including the mixer parts. So we got the meat, the fat, the grinder parts, all of it's chilled and ready to go. You may be asking why we pre-chilled this stuff. There's a couple of reasons. The first one is the fat smears. If the fat's warm, room temperature, and the grinder parts are room temperature, then the fat and the meat tend to smear through, kind of turns into a little sludge. We want it to have a little bit of structure as we grind through this. It makes it way easier to handle. So here's what's going in the grind for each version. Pork back fat. Now this is our built-in moisture insurance, keeping the Spam juicy and tender. Next is prosciutto. Prosciutto is a dry-cured Italian ham aged for months. It packs a deep and salty, savory punch that'll kind of sneak into every single bite of this Spam. And then here's the most integral part, the smoked ham. Now this gives us that signature Spam smokiness and just a little bit of extra fat for flavor. And then finally, our beef of choice for each one of these. Today we got top round, brisket, tri-tip, and then of course, the A5 Wagyu. So let's start with our baseline, the Spam made with top round. So what we do for each one of these loaves is we're gonna cube the beef, the smoked ham, the prosciutto, and the pork fat back. Then everything's gonna go through the grinder twice. First with the medium plate, then we're gonna finish it with the fine plate. No shortcuts here. That Spam needs that silky uniform grind. All right, so it's time to turn our silky ground meat into Spam paste. First, the seasoning mix. In a medium bowl, whisk together kosher salt, sugar, nutritional yeast, potato starch, cornstarch, bay leaf powder, and Prague powder number 1. Then pour in the ice water and keep whisking until it's all smooth and evenly combined. That slurry goes straight into our ground meat. Now we knead with gloved hands, folding and pressing until it's fully incorporated and the mixture turns sticky. That stickiness is protein extraction, and it's the secret to Spam's signature texture. Once it's ready, we divide the mixture into loaf pans. Looks like this one's gonna take 2 of them. Fill each only with about 3/4 of the way up, and then press down firmly to make sure there's no air pockets. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, we halved Joshua Weissman's recipe. We halved it because I didn't want more than 1 loaf, but we definitely have more than 1 loaf on this. So if you're gonna make this, adjust this according to your needs. Okay, we're gonna pivot a little bit. Seeing how that vacuum seal's in there, there's no way you could do a partial pan. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the remainder of not only the tri-tip, but the brisket to this, and we're gonna make a turducken version of Spam with top round, brisket, and tri-tip. What else are we gonna do with this? Now that we got our top round Spam loaf ready for the sous vide, now I just gotta get the brisket and the tri-tip to the same stage, and then we'll do the Wagyu. That one, we made some changes to the recipe, and I'm really excited for that one. All right, it's time for the star of the show, the A5 Wagyu beef. On the A5 Wagyu Spam loaf, we are going all beef with this. No pork, no shortcuts at all. This means brisket instead of the smoked ham. We're going with bresaola instead of prosciutto, which is basically the beef version of prosciutto. And then pure beef fat to tie it all together. And just like before, we threw this in the freezer for just a little while, just to firm it up a little bit. Now all that's left to do is kind of cube this stuff up and feed it to the mixer. But we got to work fast because this Wagyu fat melts if you even look at it wrong. 2 passes through the grinder and boom, luxury Wagyu meat paste. We'll season, mix, and pack it just like the others. And then it's straight into a loaf pan, vacuum sealed, and ready for its sous vide spa day. All right, time to give our Spam loaves this hot water spa treatment. We got a big stock pot here that we're gonna stack 3 loaf pans in at a time, staggering them so that the water can flow all the way around each one. Think Spam bunk beds, but in a jerky gourmet kind of way. Then we'll set the sous vide here for 175 degrees. Each batch gets 2 hours in the sous vide. When the timer's up, we'll swap in the next 3 and give them the exact same treatment. All right, it is the next day. These things have been in the fridge overnight and they have turned into these perfect little meaty Spam loaves. All right, out of the fridge, and look at that. It's pretty smooth, compact. Looks like it's gonna be pretty sliceable. So, and also check this out. I mean, before we crack these things open, you can already see there's some of that trademark gelatin type stuff that you'll see on Spam. And we'll get to this one in a minute, but the A5s look crazy. Looks like a lot of that fat rendered out quite a bit there. Really interested to see what this is gonna look like when we crack it open. So let's crack one of these things open and see what it's like. All right, let's start with the top round here. Let's see what we're working with. Yeah, it looks like there's a little bit of shrinkage around the edges. You could definitely see where some of that fat was rendered, turned into this gelatin type stuff filled around the side. And super firm, super firm. I think this stuff is gonna slice up really well. Look at all this gelatinous stuff inside of the bag. I mean, it definitely has that kind of trademark Spam look. Oh yeah, definitely shrunk around. I can tell on the length of this thing. And there you go, one top round Spam loaf. All right, let's get the rest of these de-loafed and see what we're working with. All right, got these 3 completely unloafed. Before we get to the stars of the show, the A5 Wagyu, let's do this one. So this is gonna be top round, brisket, and tri-tip. Let's see what this thing looks like. And it looks like all the other ones. I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I thought it was gonna be like 3 distinct layers. I don't know why I thought that. Let's crack this thing open. Oh yeah, immediately. Just look at all the fat in that bag. Let's see what we got. First of all, look at how much of that gelatin and fat is on the Wagyu. As expected, as expected. And then look at how much it shrunk, by the way. Let's get this last one unloaved and let's start making some jerky. All right, let's start slicing this stuff up here. I'm gonna get one of my cutting boards here. So let's start with the top round. I'm just gonna check out how this cuts. I'm going about a half. Let's see how this goes. Oh yeah, that cut super easy. A little more firm than Spam. Now what I wanna do, we're gonna make this into jerky, so we're gonna cut a bunch of slices. You guys have no problem using a knife. You could cut these all day long, you know, very consistently. This stuff is firm. A little crumbly, I gotta be honest, a little crumbly, but super firm. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get a few slices here. I'm gonna try our custom-made Spam slicer. Just kidding, this is made for cheese. I got it on Amazon. This thing works really good for slicing Spam. Man, I really got to put my weight down on this. Yeah, this stuff is so firm. That Spam cutter, it took quite a bit to push through this stuff. On regular Spam, man, it just goes right on through. It's easy peasy. But on this stuff, not so much. I think for the rest of this stuff, I'm gonna go ahead and use the chef's knife. Okay, with the top round all sliced up, I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing on the tri-tip and the brisket, and then we'll get going on the A5. All right, last thing we're gonna do before I get to this A5 is we're gonna do this brie tri-top. That's kind of what we've affectionately named this, the brisket tri-tip top round brie tri-top. So that's the last thing I'm gonna slice here. Get this all sliced up, and then we'll get right to the A5. Slicing through this definitely feels different than slicing through Spam. Like, you can feel cutting through some fibers of some sort. So it takes a little more push to get through, but let's wrap this one up. All right, let's finally get to this A5 Wagyu Spam loaf. It just feels more dense than the other ones, which kind of makes sense, I guess. If all that fat rendered out, this should be a pretty beefy, densey loaf. All right, it's time to get in it. Looks a whole lot more crumbly than I was expecting. Again, I guess all that fat just rendered out, leaving just the concentrated kind of beef there. So let's see how well this stuff holds up. All right, let's get to seasoning these things. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna season each of these with just a rub, just a dry rub. So here's what we're gonna do with the top round. This is the first one we're gonna do. I just went with kind of a good all-purpose kind of seasoning. All this has is cracked pepper, garlic, and a little bit of sea salt. I think this will serve as just a good base to highlight the top round. Let's get that seasoned up. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a rack. I like to put a rack on this tray when I'm doing a dry rub. Since we're gonna be doing both sides of this, I can catch all the additional seasoning in the bottom, and then I reuse that once that really builds up. So I do that, helps keep it clean. Also helps me make sure I don't lose any of that seasoning as we put it on. So, all right, with this all racked up, let's just go ahead and get this generously seasoned on. It's pretty coarse stuff here. All right, now I'm gonna just sandwich this all together here while I do a little flip. See how much of that seasoning is actually gonna end up sticking on this. All right, into the dehydrator this one goes. All right, now we'll get going on this tri-tip. Now for the tri-tip, in the spice aisle at the grocery store, they actually had this chili garlic tri-tip. Excited for this one. So let's get this racked up and seasoned up. All right, now for this brisket, we're gonna go with just a barbecue seasoning. Obviously, I think that goes really well with brisket, so we'll see if this really helps pull out that brisket flavor. Yeah, you can just smell the flavor of this one. It smells barbecuey. This one is gonna be bold and flavorful. You can tell just by the smell. All right, now we're gonna do this brie tri-top. Obviously, the brie tri-top, we're gonna do all three of these seasonings on it. So I'm gonna get these racked up, and then we get to the A5. Look at that, you can actually see it cracking where the layers were. All right, we're finally gonna get to this A5 Wagyu Spam. So this is what we're gonna do. We got two loaves here. The first one, I wanna know what it's like just straight up. So we're not gonna do anything to it. We're just gonna hit it with a little bit of finishing salt, but I wanna be able to taste the meat in its actual form. And then the second one, we'll hit with something special. I'm really excited not only to try this A5 Wagyu Spam Jerky, but I'm also interested to try it with this umami seasoning and see if there's much of a difference between the two, or if A5 Wagyu is best as is. With this seasoned up, let's get it in the dehydrator. And this would be a good time to ask, if you're getting any sort of value out of this whatsoever, or you think somebody else will, please consider sharing this video with them, or share it with yourself. You sharing us with other people is the best way for us to get noticed. In the days of everything algorithm, good old-fashioned word of mouth is all we need. So I'm gonna get these dehydrators set. There's not a lot of fat in these meats, so I'm really worried about them flaking out and drying too much. So I'm gonna go ahead and set them low at 149 degrees, and I'm gonna start babysitting them about 2.5 or 3 hours. I'm really gonna be hands-on during this cook. I really wanna make sure we get this texture right. All right, so we are finally here. I'm not gonna lie, this whole thing was way more work than I thought. Originally, we were just gonna do the A5 Wagyu, and somewhere in there I said, hey, what if we did all four and compared them? And everybody's just like, yeah, that's a good idea, including me. But now that we've actually done it, these things were a ton of work. Like, not only does one loaf take a while to make, but then we did it 4 times. So we're gonna be tasting these, ranking them, comparing, and ultimately deciding if any of these belong in the Jerky.com Hall of Fame. I've been really looking forward to this stuff, so let's just get to it. Anybody got any thoughts here on appearances?
That's a hell of a spread.
The A5s, I gotta be honest, they look a little unappetizing. I mean, it looks almost like bread, you know, like a reddish bread.
It's like a dog treat. It's like banana bread and dog treat.
I'm expecting these all to taste better than they look.
Okay, let's just get into it then. Everybody grab a piece of top round. Any thoughts on smell?
Not as scentful as I thought it was.
I'm not getting, are you?
No.
I'm not getting that smell at all.
I was about to say something. I'm like, if I say anything, it's a lie. Like, I can't pick up on anything. I'm searching. It still has that Spam texture though. Yay.
Hooray. You guys ready? Take a bite?
It's a lot denser than Spam.
It's definitely dense, ain't it?
It's flavorful, but I didn't pick up flavor from the topical seasonings. It's like in the meat.
Kind of don't mind it, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I was really expecting to hate this stuff. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really surprised that I liked it.
I would go for seconds.
All right, let's just go right in then to the tri-tip here.
I smell oregano. It kind of reminds me of a cheap pizza.
Yeah, I'm getting more seasoning smell than I'm in a distinct meat
I got flashbacks to elementary school.
Elementary school pizza? All right, let's try the chili garlic tri-tip Spam Jerky.
My immediate thought was pepperoni. It's good, but it's rich. I couldn't eat a lot of that. That's a pretty rich flavor.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's a little too salty.
It's good, but it's almost too bold.
I would put this above this personally.
I would too.
You would?
Yeah.
Even though it's overpowering.
I know.
Yeah, I like the flavor, but I think I'm going with that, man. I love that. I love that seasoning. All right, well then let's just jump right into the barbecue brisket Spam Jerky. Are you guys getting any barbecue?
I think there's flavor that, it's hard to describe the flavor, but it's not barbecue. What is it now? It's like mystery meat and mystery flavor.
This is a good example of how important it is to get your jerky slices very consistent. Thoughts on flavor overall? Where are you guys ranking the three that we got?
I'd say least favorite one.
I'm indifferent on these two. It's almost a toss-up.
Well, I'm going with this number one for sure. These are a tie. These are a tie for me. All right, well then let's just jump right into the A5 Wagyu. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little off-putting. A5 Wagyu with just the finishing salt on it.
Yeah, that's grainy. This stuff's over here choking me to death.
It's like a moist cracker.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the flavor?
I will say the flavor of the meat, I think is better than the other three.
I don't know what it is, but I'm almost getting like a buttery flavor.
Yeah, it's almost like the meat itself is rich.
This is condensed Wagyu, but it still somehow retained that flavor.
It's better than I thought it was going to be.
Well then, let's go ahead and jump right over to the A5 Wagyu Umami Seasoned Spam Jerky.
This one looks the worst out of all of them, by the
This
way.
one smelled the worst out of all.
Really?
Of them.
Yeah, it definitely looks like banana bread from here, doesn't it? Let's go.
Spongy.
If I'm to be frank, I hate it.
You hate it?
That's my least favorite out of all. I really do not like that.
What do you think?
I like the umami flavor. I think it works well with any kind of meat.
I gotta be honest, I don't see the hate you got.
Tastes like feet. I don't know how else to describe it.
I'm not even gonna ask. Okay.
I think it's a little too salty for me. So I think I prefer the original over that.
Overall, I'm not liking those as much as I am these. Any two of these versus two of those, I'm on this side.
Okay, so let's talk money. So all in, we've got somewhere around $250 just in this Wagyu. Worth it or not worth it?
Pains me to say it, but no, it's not.
You'd be better taking that money, having some friends over, even if you're gonna have the Wagyu steak and serve it up that way. Because we got some good flavors in the Hall of Fame. We got prime rib is in there pretty universally, Chipotle bourbon, which is in there, handful of other flavors. Do any of these deserve to be in the ranks with those flavors?
I think it's all right. Does it compare to those flavors? No.
Hell no.
We had a long drawn out no and a hell no. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clearly no. Even at this price tag, these do not deserve to be in the Jerky.com Hall of Fame.
After trying that very first one, you were like, yeah, I think we got something here. And then just went downhill from there.
Pretty much. That's pretty much. Well, that's how we do it here. They're honest reviews. We're not gonna hype it up just because we're on camera. This is just the way we run our taste tests. We make things, even though they're ridiculous, and then we're very objective and real about it. We don't want to ever put anything out that's not a good product. But hey, we're gonna be giving some of this away, including this A5. By the way, I did the math on this. There's like $10 a piece on each of these A5. But we're gonna be giving them away only to our official taste testers. By the way, it's free to be an official taste tester. We drop brand new flavors every single month, exclusive to our taste testers. If you wanna be a taste tester, link down in the description, and there'll be instructions over there on how to enter to win this. Thanks a million for being a part of this with us, and I'll see you next time in the test kitchen. Honestly, I'm not mad. Like, it was a ton of time. It definitely wasn't worth the time. Dude, this was a ton of work.